Islam came to rid us of tribalism.
Exactly.
And to rid us of all the nightmare that people used to go through in
Which
that
we
time.
as Muslims are replicating today.
And we see it yet happening throughout the Muslim world, in the Middle East and in so many parts of Pakistan.
Yes.
Why? I asked you the question first.
But I have to tell you that I've just given you my answer, that there are all kinds of people in any tribe that feels under siege who will never be satisfied with anything other than the status quo, because it's all about power for them. That's it. They gain their identity from a very narrow and rigid notion of faith. And in fact, it's a notion of faith that is not faith at all. It is dogma. And let me explain the difference between the two. Faith is secure enough to handle questions. Faith never needs to be threatened by questions. Dogma, on the other hand, is always threatened by questions, because dogma, by definition, is brittle. Okay? It snaps under the spotlight of questions. It is based on very shaky foundations.
So Muslims are victims of dogma in the 21st century?
It's not victims of dogma. Muslims are often the perpetrators of dogma in the 21st century.
How can they end that?
In the book, I say that there are at least two approaches. And notice I emphasize at least. I don't claim to have all the answers. I claim to have a lot of questions. But at least two approaches that can be followed. One comes from younger Muslims in the West who are exercising the very freedoms that you and I talked about a few minutes ago. And one of the things that we are doing as reform-minded Muslims is starting Project Ijtihad. And this is a grassroots effort to build what we believe will become the world's most inclusive network of reform-minded Muslims and non-Muslim allies, people who want to see God's good name, Allah's good name reclaimed. And so, I ask people to come to my website, click on the button Project Ijtihad, and learn more about what we're doing. And if you'd like to be a part of it, just sign up. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, we have a disproportionate number of Pakistanis who are already part of what we are doing.
But they would want to know, what is ijtihad?
Well, ijtihad, as I explained earlier, is Islam's own tradition of critical thinking, independent reasoning, debate, and dissent. And what we are doing through Project Ijtihad is popularizing this notion so that all Muslims, to the degree possible, understand that it is their God-given right to think critically and to think for themselves, to develop a personal relationship with Allah, and not have to be told by members of the ulama, this is who you are, this is what you believe, this is where you belong, and that's it. As if I haven't already said it, let me now say it, that the Quran contains 3 times as many verses calling on us to think than telling us what is absolutely right or wrong. So in that sense, ijtihadists are very much living according to the Quranic decree. We are, however, seeing all of the room that Islam gives us to grow. And we believe that growing, in fact, is paying tribute to Allah, because what God would be, who is worth worshiping, would be satisfied with creating, little robots for whom faith is not deeply felt, but it is only a matter of dictation. This is what can happen from the West, and also from other parts of the world, as I say, Pakistan, big members of Project Ijtihad. But there's a second approach as well, simultaneous. I believe that women will be leading the effort to reform the Muslim mindset from within the world of Islam. And so in my book, I point out that microcredit, micro-business loans can liberate the entrepreneurial talents of women in the Muslim world, allowing them to, fill gaping holes in goods and services in their own communities. But here's what's really important. They earn their own money through these businesses. And the beauty is that in Islam, there's actual consensus that when a woman earns her own assets, she gets to keep 100% of those assets and do with them as she sees fit. So what could?
Khadija.
Exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned Bibi Khadija. She is, of course, the Prophet Muhammad's beloved first wife. She herself was a wealthy, self-made merchant for whom the Prophet worked for many, many years. And so many Muslim women can rightly say to their husbands, look, if you want to emulate the Prophet Muhammad's life, don't just grow a beard. You should be open to me working for myself, because this is what Khadija herself did, and the Prophet was very proud of that. Again, this is not changing Islam, Imran. This is changing Muslims to live up to the best spirit of Islam. And so the idea here is that when Muslim women earn their own money, they can do with that money as they see fit. They can become literate. Remember, we talked a few minutes ago about the need for literacy, so that they can learn to read the Quran for themselves, see all of the verses that it provides to them for dignity, respect, empowerment. And beyond that, Muslim women can also start their own schools. And I must tell you that this is happening in some parts of Kabul today, where Muslim women who are taking micro business loans from non-governmental organizations are starting businesses with the money that they earn, starting their own schools for their daughters and sons. And in some of these schools, you can read signs that say, if you educate a boy, you only educate that boy, but if you educate a girl, you educate her entire family. You know, the effect, the ripple effect of investing in Muslim women cannot be underestimated. And I have to emphasize that this is not a secular idea. This is not a Western idea, hence Khadija, hence, you know, the fact that we invoked her name. This is an idea that is so eminently compatible with Islam that it breaks my heart that the Muslim world has not embraced it to the degree that it becomes part of, domestic policy.